Carousels Filmmaking Studio presents Wholehearted Marketing!
Hi everyone, welcome to our next Wholehearted Marketing Q&A. Today I have the lovely Bron Squire from Angel Web Designs, and she is definitely a website expert because she's been building websites for pretty much as long as there've been websites, and she's going to talk website stuff with us. She's going to give us a little bit more intro about herself and what she does, and then we're going to answer your questions.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. Kath, this has been lots of fun already. So I've been building websites since 2000, and I was playing around with them from then and started doing it as my full-time thing in about 2008. And since then, I have lost count of how many sites I've built. And I tend to deliver the full service. So I do everything from arranging the design and sometimes doing the design myself to building the complete site for the customer. I also look after the analytics for the customers, and I can do AdWords and all of the bits that tack on to websites and the hosting. So hopefully we're going to cover off a lot of that today.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. The first, where I wanted to start was probably the big question is like, so how do you choose a platform? There's a lot around at the moment. Some of them are hosted, so things like Wix and Squarespace, and this new one that's arrived recently, the Grid. Compare that with, like your self-hosted ones like WordPress or Joomla, and then you've got your fully customized ones. How, as a small business owner, do you choose which way you go?
Yeah. Okay, so as a small business owner, I usually recommend, first of all, my biggest thing with websites is your website is what you will use to sell your business. So I always recommend, if you can, put as much budget behind your website as you can, because it's going to set you off on the right foot. The completely hosted systems such as Wix and Weebly and systems that are coming like the Grid are very good if you do have that smaller budget, but you want to get something out there, and it gives you the ability generally to do it without having to employ a website designer or developer for that role. I just always like to explain to people that what you will find is that you will reach the limits of those systems as your business grows. And as soon as you start looking like reaching those limits, it's time to start looking at building a site of your own. And you want to get onto that before you get to the top of those limits, because otherwise you'll actually start finding that you lose business. Now, a great example of that is your e-commerce platform if you're selling products online, because I've seen myself in these not so custom systems that you can have limits on the sort of conversion enhancements that you can apply, so like carousels and customized checkout processes and the like. And I often see that the checkout processes, as an example, are not optimized for clicks on those systems, and you want to be able to customize that. Yeah. Also, those systems can tend to allow you to do a lot with the design, where you need to be consistent with your brand, and you need to make sure that your website platform that you choose locks you into those consistencies. And it will also allow you then to give somebody else the reins to do your content entry without you having to worry about what they're capable of changing on your website, where you might not want that done.
Cool. Pretty much.
So,
yeah.
I am actually really excited to see the Grid. I think it's got a lot of great potential. I think it's got the potential to really improve those startup websites, because systems like Wix and Weebly, and I do a lot of naming and I probably shouldn't, but these third-party systems, I've seen, to be completely honest, I've seen some very poor first business websites come out of them because of the poor control that they have over consistency, as I said. So the Grid has the potential to really enhance those initial websites, and it may even be something that web developers like myself start working with in the same way that we work with WordPress, to give it that professional look over that framework.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting what's going on. So
yeah.
Right. So when you're first commissioning a website, that you want to go to a website developer and you've got your budget, what questions do you recommend that people ask their website developer, and what do they need to be aware of to ensure they have the control of their website in the longer term, or is that actually a desirable thing?
Yeah, okay. So questions that are important to us, there are many. The ones that come to my mind up front are, who will look after my website in the long term? Is this something that you will do for me, or will I need to update all of my content through my content management system? If you're going to do that, what will be the ongoing costs? And one question that I personally would always ask is, who will actually be building my website, and will they be available to look after any issues that come up? This has come up a number of times just recently, is that somebody's had a website built and then that company can't easily make changes to it or fix any issues that came out because the original developers are no longer available. So just make sure that the people that you're talking to have accountability ongoing for all of that sort of thing. Good to ask them if they have if they're completely blindsided by a certain CMS, so content management system, and are they going to choose the best platform for your needs? So by that I mean, and I know we're going to cover this in a minute, but which platform to choose in terms of your content management system, WordPress, Joomla, custom built, etc., that really needs to be decided on a per project basis. And you want to make sure that you don't just walk up to an agency that is a WordPress house or that is a Joomla house and potentially gives you something that doesn't fit your needs. So make sure you can lay out all of your requirements for them to make sure they can cover them off. The more descriptive the brief that you give us, the better.
Any creative brief.
Sorry?
Any creative brief.
Yes, exactly. That's right. If you want a certain colour scheme, for example, then tell people that. There's no point saying, oh, I want something that matches my brand, and then it turns out that we've chosen the wrong colour from your logo. If you've got 2-colour logo or something. If you've got particular layouts in mind, go and have a look at layouts online and give those examples. Don't expect any designer to copy a site exactly. And that may sound like a bizarre thing to say, but I have had people say to me, can you just copy that website? And the answer is straight out no. It's not going to
happen. Copyright laws around that.
Right, exactly, yeah. And also, you're not going to have, that website is not tailored to your business. So you're not going to end up with a website that is tailored to your business if you do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Other questions to ask, where will they host your website? And I don't just mean in terms of business names, I mean country of hosting as well. We are in Australia here, and you can get very good, cheap hosting in Australia, and it'll be much faster than if your hosting is in the US or anywhere else overseas. US is usually where most hosting is done, if not in Australia. So definitely ask that question. Ask up front what their hosting is going to cost and what that includes, so that you make sure that it includes things like some form of backup, or at least you should know up front if you need to perform your own backups, and what sort of access you will get to that hosting. I recommend personally to all of my clients to bring all of their hosting and domains across to me, because it means that I can look after all of it for them, and I include that in their maintenance. But I know that I don't know if I'm unique, but I know of a lot of stories where people have found it hard to move their websites away from other host providers for some reason. They dig their feet in. So I could say, take everything wherever you're going, like I say to my customers, but you've got to know that you trust. You've got to trust that person that you're giving full control to everything to. So my customers tend to trust me that if they take their domain across and put it in my domain registration bucket, if they decide to move down the track, first of all, they always have access to it anyway, because that's legally they have to. And secondly, they do because I'm not going to pull the dirty on them. But I have known that to happen. So I'm not going to say a blanket, move it wherever you're happy it maintained. But use your instincts. Because that is one thing that happens a lot is people say, I knew up front that there was something funny about them, and you can't go back and fix that after you've done it. So,
yeah, and I know that, because we do a bit of website work for our clients as part of their brand experience with my other business, and you know, we usually recommend they have control of their own domains.
Yes, yeah.
And if they ask for their cPanel access, we'll give it to them. But most of them wouldn't know how to do anything.
No, that's right, yes. Yeah, that's right. It's nice for them to know that they can have access to that. Yeah. We actually don't run, for example, I don't run cPanel for a lot of my customers because I run what's called a dedicated server. So all of my customers are on one big machine, but they're not fighting for resources because the system has plenty of resources. So it's quite different to that shared hosting where you pay $5 a month and at a given time your site may run slow because this other site is chewing up resources, and we've all seen that. You can see that happen constantly throughout the month. So whether or not there is a cPanel access is going to be dependent on your hosting as well. But if there is a cPanel, for example, then try to get access to it just in case for the future. I suppose with hosting, a lot of the time hosting, if you want a company and agency to look after your website, you've got to entrust them with that. Domain, yes, you can have your own domain registered by yourself somewhere else. You should always have access to your domain password. So that's actually a key piece of information there. Domain password. Even if my customers register their domains through me, it's just like going to a third-party hosting provider, but it happens to come through me. But they get a copy of their domain password, and that's what they need to move it elsewhere if they want to in the future.
Yeah.
So that is important. Yeah, but it can be. I have a lot of customers rely on me renewing their domain for them, and I just invoice them whenever it's due, but I invoice post-renewal so that they don't lose their domain. And I've seen a lot of times where websites have gone down because those domain renewals have come through an email and they haven't been followed up on, like the website owner is busy, they're a business owner. Before being a website owner, people are business owners and they've got other things going on. Yeah, and also you get a lot of spam emails to do with domains and stuff. So sometimes it can be tricky to filter out the good from the bad. So if you're ever in doubt, first of all, ask an expert. Ask somebody like us whether or not this is a valid request for a domain renewal. Yeah. But yeah, if you can arrange for automatic renewals through your provider, then I recommend that, because unless you know your business is going to close down, you're always going to want that domain renewed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So moving on, I've noticed some real changes in website design. I know a few years ago, everyone had these side panels and sidebars and all sorts of bits and pieces, and we tend to have moved a lot more to single page layouts and large banner images and losing the sidebars and everything. Are they important considerations for usability? Are they to do with mobile responsiveness, or are they just design trends?
I don't know it, but that is an absolute can of worms. So let's take one thing at a time. Okay, so the sidebar. The sidebar is still a very useful user interface widget thing, element. So, for example, in blogs, you'll often even still with a full width page, you'll still go into the blog section and see the sidebar. It gives you an opportunity to offer links to other articles, other categories, your social network links, all of the extra goodies that you want your customer to see. So I don't see a death of the sidebar at all. The inclusion of a sidebar on your homepage, though, is I wouldn't say dead in the water, but it is a lot more reduced now because we have moved to these full widths for the homepage. Single page websites is an interesting one. I'm a website developer, and I consider myself a user experience expert. I don't do the pretty design work. I have another expert who does that for me because I'd rather be an expert in something than try to dabble in many. I personally am not keen on the parallax effect that you see a lot of now, whereas you start to scroll through, it starts to zoom in other things, and your scroll is hijacked. Scroll hijacking is another one that they refer to. So yeah, my personal opinion is that I'm not such a big fan of them, and I think they are very much a fad. Having said that, I've probably just offended a lot of people. I think if it's done right, it can be beautiful. And actually, just recently, I've seen a couple of beautiful single-page sites, or long page sites, I should say, and I've seen some beautiful ones done where the parallax effect and zooming in and out of things happens smoothly. It's all good and well, but just make sure you test it on all devices, and try and test it on different speed of connections as well. Try testing it on a mobile connection. Make sure you try testing it on a normal 3G mobile connection, because we sometimes forget now we all run around on 4G. But if you go out to rural areas, we don't have 4G. Even just outside of Melbourne, we have areas still that don't have those fast speeds.
In the Dandenongs, we're regularly running into 3G connections. So
that's right, yeah.
We're running into black spots, but
Absolutely, yeah, that's right. That's another really important question, but it's a whole other topic, is, handling dropouts. So if you are constantly trying to load, if you've got one page that has all that information, but you load it as you need it, imagine somebody is a passenger in a car driving along and reading your site, and then they go through a black spot and suddenly they can't load the rest of the page. Now, I'm not saying to avoid it completely, but it's just something to consider. It's also something to make sure that your webmaster, your web developer considers as well.
And those things are really dependent on your ideal customers and
yes,
how they're going to be looking at your site, what sort of
exactly, yes,
yeah, all that stuff there.
I have found myself enthralled by long pages where the information keeps dragging me in, but you just want to make sure that that information does keep dragging the users in. It doesn't become having a full page of text, which is scrolls and scrolls worth of text, is still a no-no, because nobody's going to read that much text in one page. It's or very rarely, and banners, carousels. I think, did you mention carousels as well?
I didn't so much carousels. It was, I suppose there was that large slider type banner thing.
So I did want to address that, because I believe that this is still a very good conversion tool. It gives you a chance in that really in that part of the screen which catches the eye. It gives you a chance to alert users to specials or updates on your site, or features or events that you're running. So carousels, although they can be done badly, and in those situations they can grab poorly in terms of grabbing your attention and making you feel like you've been sucked into this area of the screen. But if they're done correctly, then they are a very good user interface experience. But yeah, do it right.
So is that where you'd advise putting a call to action, or?
Call to action. So supposedly the eye generally moves from the top right to the bottom. Sorry, the top left to the bottom right. So I would generally put a call to action button towards the right-hand side, towards the bottom of a carousel section. It's pretty standard layout that you'll see through most carousels. So before you try mixing it up by thinking, I'll be smart and put my call to action over here in a different place, consider that there's a reason that people are putting it in that spot. So it is good to go, and you can very easily find some interesting articles on user experience and how to increase conversions on your website.
Yeah, and those rules have been around for, like, I've been doing graphic design for over 20 years, and
that's right. Well, when I was going to uni 20 years ago, they were teaching those in uni classes then, and we were referring to articles that were 10 or 15 years old at that stage.
Yeah, so that's what ads and that have been using.
That's right.
Their layouts for forever. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So while we're talking about formats, is there a specific format for menus and homepage structure and stuff that you should follow? Like one of our members was commenting that, why is everyone moving their about us over into the right, for example? Do we get used to where things should be? And if so, should we just and that sort of follows on that user experience thing, really, doesn't it?
It does. I think a really good example of that, I actually wouldn't pick on the About Us so much, because the About Us, if people want to know about your business, they're gonna find that in the menu system. the contact us one is an interesting one.
Yeah.
I've seen people move the contact us link on websites, either not have it at all at the top, or have it somewhere hidden under a menu that's not titled contact, and I myself have been lost trying to find the way to contact them. The other place that a lot of people tend to look for the contact is we'll go straight down to the bottom of the page, look for it in your footer. So make sure you always have contact details and or a contact page link in your footer. This is why footer menus are beneficial, because it gives you the chance also, if you use what we call a sitemap down in your footer, where you've got all of your menus laid out open there instead of being under drop downs or whatever. It gives an easy way to find it. And imagine also if you know what you're looking for and you do a find on the page, it won't find it in drop downs, but it will find it down that footer site map. So. The moving of the about us is just, I think, is a general trend. I think it does raise questions of whether people are considering that not to be so important as the actual product or service that you're selling. I've actually tended to put about me to the right-hand side on my website. I don't actually even have one on my current website because I'm working on it right now. So if you go and look at it right now, you won't even see it. But it's kind of on the homepage. But I have always thought that my services and portfolio are more important because that's what I am selling. I'm not selling myself. And I think it's a really important question for marketing. So it's probably up your alley. Will having the about us, the question of will having the about us menu link being more to the right than to the left, will that affect the user experience? I don't believe it'll make that much of a difference. I think they'll still find it unless you've got 20 menu items up there, which I would highly recommend you didn't anyway. Keep it slim and simple. Put some effort into the architecture of your site, the structure of your site, to make sure that you don't have too many top-level menus. Yeah. And make them intuitive. So if you had home and then about us and then services and then something else and then contact us, I believe you would still it would still function just as well as having the about us just before the contact page. And depending on the focus of your business, you might even move the about us into the contact page. I've seen that done lately. So it comes down to what works for your business. Yeah,
because it will depend on and how important you are within your business. And
yes, exactly. Yep. Well, look, I mean, case in point, I'm about to sort of rebrand myself, and I'm actually going as Bron Squire. So I'm actually going to be building my personal brand, thanks to Kath. And
took a while to get there, but we got there.
I'm still going. But like in that situation on that new site that I'm going to build, about me will be the first link. Because that is, and my services and portfolio, or my capabilities and portfolio, will come second to that, because that will be my focus. So, yeah.
All right, I think we've probably confused everybody enough by now. No, hopefully we've helped clear up some important things about websites and what to do when, because they are very, very important to your business.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Bron. And we will have this up very, very soon. We'll put your details up on the blog. And, it's fantastic. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.